If you don't know the man standing to my right, a brief introduction. We've been talking about his son all day. We've been talking about his son for 3.5 years. This is the father of Sgt Bowe Bergdahl. His name is Bob. He's our friend. Let's welcome Bob.
Welcome, Bob.
We're going to be casual. Push it one way over.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you for having me here. You see the guys cleaning windows up there? How you doing up there? Hey, thanks for doing a great job. We appreciate you so much. Those guys, they know more about Afghanistan than Congress does. I can guarantee you that they look like real scholars. They do. And that's part of the problem. I wanted to, on a very friendly and kind note, thank Roger Hall for calling my son Bowie, because that's what Jim Mattis calls him. And we have great fondness of that. It reminds me of the Bowie knife. So, sharp steel, it's a good name. But we do call him Bowe. I'm here to support those who support us. This is a giant group hug. And I think we all realize that we're pretty much spitting in the wind. But we're spitting in the wind on the front of the Capitol. So, good job. And this is a great opportunity to gather the troops, to see real faces, and to talk about a real issue. I appreciate Roger Hall's, all that research. If you combine Roger Hall with Larry Stark, who's more of a field guy, Mike, all of them, Carmel, somewhere in the middle there is what I've been doing for the last 4 years as Bo's father. I'm his advocate. I'm a research geek. You got to dig in. It's an endurance sport, as you can tell today. And you got to settle in for the long haul, unfortunately, though you don't give up hope for the short term. The fact that Mike was a USAID worker, we have a living POL, I believe, on Warren Weinstein, who is USAID contractor. So another civilian POW. Oh, excuse me, missing captured. I don't care about semantics. As far as the Taliban is concerned, Bowe Bergdahl is a prisoner of war. So Washington can call him whatever they want to call him. But the fact is, he's an American soldier, he's a U.S. citizen. DOD and state are obligated to obey the rule of law and to do for Bowe Bergdahl what they are obligated to do. Okay, so let me get more scripted here. So we're here supporting those who support us. Let me thank every one of you for your support these 5 years. Bowe is into his 5th year in Afghanistan. He enlisted in the United States Army and went off to the Afghan war. He's been in country over 4 years, into his 5th. This has been a very long deployment for him and for his family. The last time we saw Bowe was Christmas 2008. It's the last time he stood in our home. But that's a short period of time compared to those years and even decades that many of you have spent waiting to be reunited for your loved ones. And this is a sad reality of war, that millions of individuals have disappeared into the abyss of war. Millions, when you think of it throughout history. Millions of individuals have disappeared into the abyss of war, never to be seen from or heard from again. And this is the experience of some of you who are waiting for people from Korea and Vietnam. We realize that we are hikers. We are like adolescent teenagers compared to the patience that you have had to endure. Our son is alive and being comparatively fairly treated as a prisoner of war in Afghanistan. Let me repeat that. Our son is alive and being relatively fairly treated as a prisoner of war in Afghanistan. Thank God. After hearing Carmel's experience in World War II, I can say that the Taliban in general are treating prisoners more fairly than the German government during World War II. My son and I were well read on the history of Afghanistan. We believed a final reconciliation of some 30 years of war in that country was a moral obligation placed upon the American people. After having meddled there in Central Asia throughout the Cold War. The United States allied itself with Pakistan and the Afghan Mujahideen in the so-called Charlie Wilson War, a guy that used to work in that building. And as an Army private, our son went off to the boneyard of empires, as it's called, just like Rudyard Kipling did in the 1800s with nothing but his boots and a rucksack and a rifle. Now let me quote someone. But I believe with every fiber of my being that in the long run, though we were committed militarily, have been committed militarily, I believe with every fiber of my being that in the long run we also cannot keep this country safe unless we enlist the power of our most fundamental values, the documents that we hold in this very hall, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, are not simply words written into aging parchment. They are the foundation of liberty and justice in this country, and a light that shines for all of those who seek freedom and fairness and equality and dignity in the world. Quote, fidelity to our values is the reason why the United States grew from a small string of colonies under the writ of an empire to the strongest nation in the world. It is the reason why enemy soldiers have surrendered to us in battle, knowing they would be better received, would receive better treatment from America's armed forces than from their own government. It is the reason why America has been benefited from strong alliances that amplified our power and drawn a sharp and moral contrast with our adversaries. Quote, unfortunately, faced with an uncertain threat, our government made a series of hasty decisions. And I believe those decisions were motivated by a sincere desire to protect the American people. But I believe that too often our government made decisions based upon fear rather than foresight, and all too often trimmed facts and evidence to fit ideological predispositions. Instead of strategically applying our power and our principles, we too often set those principles aside as luxuries that we could no longer afford. And in this season of fear, too many of us, Democrats and Republicans, politicians, journalists, citizens, fell silent. In other words, we went off course. And this is not my assessment alone, it is the assessment that is shared by the American people who nominated candidates for president from both major parties who, despite many differences, called for a new approach, one that rejected torture, recognized the imperative of closing Guantanamo Bay. I know some have argued that brutal methods like waterboarding must be necessary to keep us safe. I could not disagree more. As a certain person says, quote, I see the intelligence. I bear responsibility for keeping the country safe. I reject the assertion that these are the most effective means of interrogation. What's more, they undermine the rule of law. They alienate us in the world. They serve as a recruitment tool for terrorists and increase the will of our enemies to fight us, while decreasing the will of others to work with us. They risk the lives of our troops by making it less likely that others will surrender to them in battle, and more likely that Americans will be mistreated if they are captured. In short, they did not advance our war and counterterrorism efforts, they undermined them. And that is why I ended them once and for all." Unquote. So spoke President Barack Obama on the 1st of May 2009. On that day, my son was in a dirt hole fighting position on the ground in a remote combat outpost in Paktika province, Afghanistan. Less than 2 months later, he would be living those words of the president. Quote, "More likely that Americans will be mistreated if they are captured." Bowe and the other Americans in captivity, and I'm glad I wasn't the one to bring this up. There are other Americans in captivity, and America does not know that because they're not paying attention, and that is all. Bowe and the other Americans in captivity have been extremely fortunate not to be badly mistreated by the Taliban. I'll say that again. Bowe and the other Americans in captivity have been extremely fortunate not to be badly mistreated by the Taliban. Although, as you have seen pictures of my son on the internet, it sure looks like a rifle butt to the face to me. But he can endure that. He is an airborne Army soldier. So bring it on. But make no mistake, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I have a question for you. How did the Hanoi Hilton get moved to Guantanamo Bay? Question. When did Hotel California become a national treasure? You can check in, but you can never leave. Question. What is the conscience of the American people willing to endure to continue to undermine the rule of law? And the answer lies before us. Nothing. Nothing. Here's my mission. This is how you can help me. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, and the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, should be fully authorized by the President, Barack Obama, to negotiate the safe, humane return of the political prisoners held by the Taliban, because it is an American principle of law and an ethos. No man left behind, military or civilian. Bowe, if you can hear me, so help me God, you will not be left behind. You are not forgotten. Hear me, my son. The Lord is your shepherd, you shall not want. He makes you lie down in green pastures. Even now, he leads you beside still waters. He will restore your soul. This is the faith of our family. We have very little faith in the people that work in the building behind me. I think you're a fool if you have faith in political process in this country.
Amen.
But it's our job to hold their feet to the fire. How we are going to do that, I have no idea. But that's what we must do. And I am your self-declared lobbyist for the POW-MIA cause. And I will kick doors in up there on that hill if I have to. Thank you for supporting us. There are too many of you to thank on the internet. You can follow me at Twitter on Bob Bergdahl, at Bob Bergdahl, Twitter at Bob Bergdahl. We might be halfway through this. But I have no other choice. This is my life, and I appreciate your support. We've been long enough. God bless you guys. Stay connected. stay strong, go get a drink of water.
Let's bring Bowe home!
Anybody want a hug?
Thank you, guys.
We have just one more.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Joe.
He is my
Joe,
partner
thank
and
you,
my
Joe.
friend.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. How you doing? Good?
He's here
I'm
to
doing the
remind
best I
us
can, just like
about
you know.
some of the other
One
things.
day.
You know, we all have our
And he'll be closing our
Exactly.
ceremony today.
Thank you, I
From a
appreciate
Christian
it.
teaching
Fit.
standpoint.
Hey,
My friend,
Feeling fit?
my
I live in
partner,
there every day.
Good.
Mr. Bob Ousley. Thank you for that rousing round of applause.
He speaks from the heart about his son. His message is pure. He speaks the truth about our government and our government's lack of attention, lack of effort on bringing home our prisoners of war. I'm not going to get into a lot of the details about history. We all know that at the end of the World War II that Stalin took about 20 or 30,000 Americans, Allies, marched them to the Gulag so that the Allies wouldn't invade Russia at the end of World War II. We know the Koreans held on to...
After he finished every sentence in a very loud voice, he said, "Free them now." It made a whole lot of sense at the time. What we want to do is plan our next march. We need 10,000 people to show up here. We need to let these people back there know why we're here. And we're going to start probably tomorrow to work on the next march. And we're going to give people plenty of time. We need to be here during the week because we need to be here when these people behind us are here. They need to hear us. They need to know we're here and we're not going away. And if they don't support what we're doing, damn it, we'll get them. We'll support the person running against them and get them the hell out of here.